Hi,
Hi,
am I leading this or are you leading it? What's
you're
up?
leading it. What do you want me to say?
How are you feeling?
Like shit. I mean, honestly, I know you've said that you felt this somewhat throughout the year too, and I know like it's a pandemic and things like that, but I also think it's age. I also think it's frustration. I think the reason probably a lot of people avoid thinking about how to plan for the future is because it becomes very unmotivating. It feels like there's no reason. It feels like nothing's ever going to happen. It feels like everything you put time and effort into doesn't make sense. It feels it feels like nothing will get better.
Well, and I think when I've told you about how I felt over the last year or two, it's been a similar thing, but more because I've tried to put in a lot of work to make those things happen. And then if they're not coming to fruition or as quickly as I'd like, there's a frustrating feeling. So I think what you're feeling is a little bit different, which is you're starting the process of thinking about what you want to do and how you want to do it. So then
But
the
I'm
kind
not
of
really
frustration.
starting the process. Like it's like obviously like it's not like I'm void of like having thought about this. I've had thoughts and like pursued things and achieved things, but like it just feels like it's never the thing.
Right. So then, sorry. Then I guess what I'm saying is like starting the process of thinking of the thing or the bigger thing or how all of the other things that you've done can kind of relate to then create a bigger picture thing.
Mhm.
Right. I mean, and I think your point about how it feels like it's never going to happen, you know, that I think is a common feeling if you probably haven't had a lot of like thought around what it is you want to do. So what we were talking about a little bit earlier was this idea of like using the analogy of the grocery store that there's a lot of people that like, hey, I'm hungry, and then they don't figure out where they want to go or what they want to eat or where. And then some people are like, yeah, I want to cook something. And then some people are like, okay, I think I want to cook and I'm going to go to this grocery store. And
Yeah.
then some people are like, I'm going to cook, go to the grocery store, and I think that I want Italian or Mexican food or whatever it is. And then you go, okay, well, what kind? You want a burrito, you want a taco, you want a you know whatever, a quesadilla, whatever it is you want, right? Then you have to say, well, what kind? Is it a chicken one? Is it a steak one? So like each level we go down, it gets more specific. So yeah, of course, it's not like you haven't done any of that thinking. So you may be the person who's like, yeah, I'm hungry. I'm gonna go to the grocery store. I think I want Mexican. But like we said, like if you're just walking around the aisles aimlessly and you're not really sure if you want Mexican or Italian or Chinese, well, you don't even know what to pick up. You don't even know where to start, right? Because you could pick up cheese and go, well, this could be a pizza, but it could be part for taco. Like, it could be this and that. And it's not that it can't happen, but like the more, specific you get towards what you actually want to eat and what dish it is and how many ingredients do you need and how much of those ingredients do you need, then it becomes more specific. So, you know, it's not that like once you get all that stuff back to your house, it's not going to, there could still be frustration, right? Because you go, oh, my pans or pots aren't clean, or I got to do this now or that. So, but at least you at least know, hey, I went to the store, I grabbed these things, I got more specific versus just, being in my mind the average person who's complaining about being hungry and not really knowing what to eat and having some of an idea, but they haven't even really
I
been.
feel like I've gone to the store. I knew I wanted Mexican food. I came back and now the ingredients are rotten. Like that's how it feels for me. Like because like what I wanted for most of my life and the industry that I wanted for most of my life is like changed so much because of where we are in the world and like it just doesn't seem feasible anymore.
Well, but again, I think, and again, I don't want to like kill this analogy, but it's just the idea that, okay, if you went to the store and you got all the ingredients and you got home now and you said the ingredients are rotten, the question is, well, what were you doing in between the store and coming home,
Right.
right? Or what ingredients were you picking up when you're at the store? Did you check to see if they were expired? Did you pick
Yeah.
up like the wilted lettuce and then you get home and you realize it's wilted? Like, those things are part of the process. So that the industry that you want to be in, if you go, hey, it's not feasible now, well, again, part of that is that like is it really not feasible, or is it just because again there was a part of the process that you went down and you didn't really think about the ingredient you were grabbing? That one happened to be expired. That one happened to be wilted,
Yeah.
right? Like those kinds of things. But it doesn't mean that you were wrong about what you wanted to eat. It doesn't mean that you were wrong about the ingredients you grabbed. So I know what you're saying. I know what you're thinking and what you're feeling. But in reality, I think when you really know kind of what you want, like you'll just make do. So you go, hey, you know what? Like, sorry, my taco's not going to have lettuce because the lettuce I bought was wilted, but I'll get by with just the cheese and the rice and the meat, and the taco shells. I mean, like at least you have enough to then make it something different.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just weird, like even during these moments, like it affects your physical so much. Like it really does feel like it's just like such unmotivation to like even move.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is because it's hard to think of the action to take, right? Like I mean, imagine trying to go back to the store to grab fresh lettuce, right? I already came here, I got all the stuff, I got back home, I'm tired, there was traffic, I couldn't find a parking spot. And now it's like, oh God, it's not going to be as good, but do I really want to go back and just for a bag of lettuce? Like probably not. So, I know what you're saying, and I don't think it's an uncommon thing. And I think that physicality of feeling a little bit drained and tired around, all the thoughts that it takes is not because again, it's not like you can't make the meal great. It's the idea of maybe going back to the store to grab that ingredient that you missed, and then thinking of the logistics around all of those things and saying, is it really worth it for that? And then that thought kind of consuming you in that day or that moment, and it becomes really really hard because again we do get more motivated when there are things that we're doing, even if they're not leading to the big picture, but they seem exciting or they seem like something that has a higher potential to become something different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what do you think? What are you feeling right now?
I mean, I know intellectually everything will be fine. I know who I am as a person, and I know that tomorrow my emotions will shift and I'll feel fine and I'll feel motivated again. It's just like these days, like when, especially I'm such an emotional person that like when I feel this, it's very all consuming and it's hard to like. And like the other thing is like when you feel like this, like you want to talk about it, you want to like. I revert a lot, and I go into more of like I don't want to be around anybody. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to burden anybody. Like I revert and like I feel uncomfortable even like having to like or not having or I just don't want to. I don't want to talk about it with anybody. I want to like just like be in my own bubble. But I know tomorrow what will happen is I'll wake up and I'll feel different and my emotions will shift and then I'll want to talk about it or I'll want to work on it or I'll want to move forward. I'll want to figure out a solution. I'll want that, but it's just these days that are all consuming that are very debilitating in a way.
Yeah. Um, yeah. And, I don't know. I mean, I think we all have those days, right? We all have the days where we're going to feel more than we're going to think. But, um, and yeah, definitely for a more emotional person, that's probably more likely to happen. But, I mean, I think everything just kind of has to drive towards action, right? Like, you can feel anything, but if you use the feeling to then drive you towards an action to say, okay, I got to do this, like, because I don't like this feeling, or if that feeling then leads to a logical thought process that you go down to go, okay, well, how do I actually do this? How do I take this first step? But you know, the only thing that really helps in any of these things is action. It's the only thing that like will solve anything. Like you're not going to feel better. You're not going to come to answers. You're not going to learn from the process without having some kind of action. So, that's why typically my default is to say, hey, like, okay, we'll just do something. Let's get on like a call like this, right? Let's just talk through it. Or, because I think another thing is like for a lot of us, we think when we're feeling these things like, it's a burden. I don't want to talk about it. But I mean, I think, with COVID and quarantine and all this, like it's really exposed how much, people are feeling that way. And when we're talking about big picture things like your life and
Mhm.
the direction of it and where you're
Yeah.
going, it's even more dire. It's even more like, important to kind of have people to talk to and think through these things with, and you know placing a higher importance on what it is that you actually want to achieve and what you want to accomplish. Because the answers aren't going to just come. That's what I'm saying. I think the hard part is that you know everyone feels these things. It's just now like, what are you going to do about it? And most people will just ignore it and just push it to the side and say, yeah, tomorrow's another day. I'll think about tomorrow. But then, like we talked about a million times, we all get into our routines. We all get into our normal, we fall back into our normal rhythms and cadences. And like, just, I go to work, I go to school, I, play with the kids, I take care of the pets, I see my friends, I grab a drink, like, I watch my show, and we get so wrapped up in that minutia that like, how are you ever going to have time to think for yourself and really, make it a priority to go, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. This is where I want the next 3 months or 6 months or 12 months to go.
No, and that's why I feel like in my, like, even just thinking about it today, I'm like, even like my career shifting a bit, like what happens is it's like, there's never a day where I'm like, oh, I don't have anything to do today. There's always been like, oh, I'm supposed to have a call with this person, or I'm supposed to meet with this person, or this person's been like trying, like I've rescheduled this person 6 times. And like, so there's always like, what I feel kind of like annoyed by today is like the consistent nature that I've created for myself to feel like I'm beholden to other people. And that's just not even just career wise. It's like even like relationships in my life too, where I feel like I'm constantly being pulled to serve other people, which is like commendable if it's like you're helping people, but like you're not even helping people. It's like people just using your space and time. And I mean, of course, there's the opposite of that too. Like, I don't want to be like completely devoid of people, but like, I just feel like I have too much of that in my life. I have too many people wanting my help on things, too many people asking for my help in their own lives, too many people asking for me, a piece of me. And like, I'm like, I think for me personally, I just want to like pull fully back and just be like, I don't want to help anybody. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to. And that's just like, and that goes against so much who I am as a person too. But it just feels like,
Yeah. Well, and that's why, again, I don't think, these things have to be extremes, right? Like, it doesn't have to be, I give pieces of myself to people to help, or I give nothing. It's like, what we've talked about in the past too, is like creating this hierarchy of your time and your responsibility and the things that,
but I think I have to be the top of that. And I don't think I've ever been the top of that. It's always like, oh, how am I making somebody else feel?
Right. And I think that's 100% true. And I think that's because you are an empathetic person who cares about people and is very nice and accommodating and, agreeable. But, there comes a breaking point to that, right? Because again, like, as you keep pushing your priorities, aside and then help other people. And like we said, the minutia of the day, as that builds up, it gets harder and harder to kind of refocus back to like what you have to do, because it's like, okay, I know I have this stuff over here, but I got my normal day. And then, oh, but this person needs this, so I got to help here.
Yeah.
Oh, but this just popped up again. And then this popped, but then you never kind of get back to what
I mean, like, I feel like I have people calling me throughout the day, and every time somebody calls me, it's a problem that they're going through that they want to talk about with me. Like, and it's not like, it's not even just like, it feels like it's never just even a call anymore. It's just like consistently people feeling like
Yeah.
but I don't, and that's why I think, because I know that happens to me so much when I feel like this, I revert so much because I don't want to be that person.
Well, and again, I think that's also a very difficult thing, right? Because and knowing my story, that's been a big part of my history of like, when things are going okay or you're executing things in a pretty decent way, everyone kind of around you just assumes like, oh, everything's fine. So
Yeah.
then, when problems do come up, you're so unused to actually reaching out to other people. And also because no one ever really will reach out to you and say, well, wait a minute, how are you doing? What are you going through? That it almost becomes, from both sides, like you're not asking for help because you're not used to it. And people don't assume you need any help because they're not used to seeing it. So, but that's why, again, I think kind of back to the hierarchy of like, yes, you should be number one, and the tasks that you have to do, whether that's your job or for other people out there, like if it's your kids or pets or extended family, like things that that are important. But then again, like maybe going and grabbing coffee with a coworker is lower down that pole, right? Like maybe that hanger on friend that you have that doesn't bring a lot of value to your life, and they just want to talk about all the problems in the relationship. Maybe that person's even further down the pole.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but the problem is, like, when you're an agreeable and accommodating person, you want to say yes to everything.
Yeah.
But it's not possible to say yes to everything and have everything be done efficiently.
Yeah.
And then also then backtrack and remember that, oh yeah, that's right, I got all these things I got to do for my life.
Yeah.
But that's, again, listen, like as uncomfortable it is to hear in these moments, it's like a part of that is on you.
I know it is. I take full responsibility for it. It's not other people's fault. Like we've said before in the past, like, of course they should. If you're having a problem and you know somebody that is going to listen to you and like give you sound advice and be there for you, you should reach out. Like that's not their fault. It's me. It has to be me that says like, okay, I have to create barriers for the people that deserve it and don't deserve it. I have to create barriers of my own time, of my own abilities, of my own self. Like that's on me completely. That's nobody else's fault.
Well, yeah. So, so meaning that like, once you start to create that hierarchy and you sort of say, well, look, and I mean, I used to give you tips like this all the time, saying like, don't do anything for anybody else until you've done 3 or 4 things for yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Or like, at least have that part where you go like, no, I can't. Like every time someone calls, says, hey, meet up with me for coffee, or, hey, can you do this? Or you got time to talk?
Yeah.
There's no problem with saying like, no, not right now. It doesn't mean you're saying no forever. It doesn't mean you're not going to be there for other people, but like, you'll feel better in the long run, and it'll be more efficient for you if in the background, like, yeah, I did, like when we used to talk about if you go on a vacation or something and you have all the things you have, your errands, all your tasks, all your work stuff, you've got it buttoned up, you've got it handled. It feels a little bit better to go on vacation and be in that position of, I get to really enjoy this without having all that other stuff in the back of my mind.
Yeah. This
is the same thing. It's just a more, it's just a smaller example of it, that like in your normal day, yeah, maybe if again, you should prioritize like when you need to get up and work out, or tasks you need to handle for yourself, for your home, and you make those things a higher priority. And if other people are there and they need help and you can do it, great, you do it. But you have, for you particularly, not only do you have to do it, but you have to be really thinking about how you're going to do it and how you're going to create the infrastructure to not allow every little thing, like every call, every text, every email that comes in, take your attention away. And historically you haven't been as good at executing that because things pop up and you just react to them. Sometimes it's like, no, like I'm not gonna respond to my friends or these emails or this thing right away. Right. Like it's like sometimes it's just knowing, hey, I have this list and I'm gonna try to knock this out first and foremost.
Yeah. Cat fur all over my face.
That's a priority. See, I get the cat hair out.
Yeah.
All good? A little better?
Yeah, I do a little bit.
Hey everybody, I'm Adam Khalil. Thank you so much for listening to this video. I definitely want you to subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more content like this. But if this content had any value to you, click the like button as well.